Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into something really cool. Video game avatars. We're going to look at what these digital characters we create actually say about us, about our deepest needs and desires.
Okay, let's just start with this. A place where I could process love. Wow, that's a quote from a player, not about the game, but about their avatar, a character named Evernoam. I mean, that right there tells you just how deep this stuff can get.
So, that really kicks us off perfectly into our first section, the avatar's secret life. We're about to pull back the curtain on the surprisingly complex and, often secret lives these characters have. So, about Evernoam, this isn't just some character with cool armor. She's basically a living memorial, a digital embodiment of a loved one who passed away. Her creator is using the game to process that grief. It's actually based on a real psychological idea called continuing bonds, where you don't sever your connection with someone who's gone, you find a new way to maintain it. And for this player, the avatar is that way. And then you have a totally different story with an avatar named Hope. This one was created with a single, laser-focused mission. Do not give up. The name itself is like a command, you know? It's a tool for resilience, designed to help the player just keep going, especially when the game gets super tough and grindy.
Okay, so what is really going on here? Are we just talking about digital puppets we move around on a screen? Or are these actually some kind of sophisticated psychological tool? That's the big question. And to get to the bottom of it, we've got to look at the psychology behind it all.
Which brings us to our next section, the mind inside the game. Let's dig into the psychology here and see how these avatars can literally start to change us. First up, there's this really fascinating idea called the Proteus Effect. The gist of it is this: our behavior can actually change to match our avatar. So if you create an avatar that's, say, tall and powerful, you might start acting a bit more confident yourself, even outside the game. It's like we start to become the digital masks we wear. And that brings us right back to Hope. This is the Proteus Effect in action. By naming her avatar Hope, the player is basically setting up a psychological trigger for herself. It's a constant reminder, a prime, to be resilient. The avatar isn't just a character, it's a tool that's actively shaping her mindset.
Okay, another big idea at play here is something called self-discrepancy theory. Think of it like this. There's the person you are right now, your actual self. And then there's the person you wish you could be, your ideal self. For a lot of us, there's a gap between those two. And what avatars do is give us a playground to try on that ideal self and see what it feels like.
We see this perfectly with an avatar named Fendi. The player wanted to explore this idea of soft power, to see if they could be successful in the game not through aggression, but through compassion, trying to reconnect with a part of their younger self. And guess what? It totally worked. The avatar proved that you don't have to be ruthless to win. That kindness can be its own form of power. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. You might think these are all just unique personal stories, but it turns out they're not random. These journeys that players are going on, they actually follow ancient patterns. We're talking about myths and stories that are as old as humanity itself. So players, probably without even thinking about it, are tapping into these timeless archetypes. They're playing out the role of the hero, or the explorer, or the guardian. The game world just becomes the new stage for these ancient stories. And check this out. Let's go back to Hope again. Her entire story is a perfect match for Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. I mean, step by step. Creating the avatar, that's the call to adventure. The tough parts of the game, the road of trials. Finally learning about her own resilience, that's the ultimate boon. And then sharing her story with others, that's literally the return with the elixir. It's incredible. And it's not like these archetypes are one size fits all. You can see amazing variations. Take the explorer, for example. You've got the analyst type, like Everguide, who travels over 52,000 kilometers just to document everything and master the game's systems. But then you have the meditator, like Everatzar, who has this slow, mindful approach, embodying the whole wabi-sabi idea of finding beauty in things that aren't perfect. So these game worlds become this stage for really complex, modern takes on old roles. You get the ethical hunter, who's thinking about how their success impacts the community, or the guardian, who isn't just protecting treasure, but the future of the group. It's like ancient mythology got a 21st century update. Okay, so this brings us to the big question, the final piece of the puzzle. How? How do players take what is essentially just code, ones and zeros, rules and stats, and turn it into something so deeply meaningful?
Well, the first step is kind of surprising. It often starts with players absolutely dominating the game's economy. They don't just play to survive, they play to master the system, to make so much in-game money that the basic needs of the game just don't apply to them anymore.
Yeah, when you see a number like 557 million, that's not just a high score. That's a statement. It's the player basically saying, I've beaten the system, I'm free now, I don't have to play by the normal rules anymore. And once you're free from that need to just survive and acquire stuff, that's when things get philosophical. The goal isn't about getting more loot anymore. It shifts to simply being. Being a memory, being an ideal, being a concept. This is where the stats themselves get a new meaning. They stop being just numbers and become a kind of biography. So, 90,000 kilometers walked? For Hope, that's a number that screams perseverance. Collecting only 27 items per kilometer? For Avratsar, that quantifies a mindful, observant way of playing. The data literally tells the character's story. Which brings us to this really fascinating final conflict, this tension between two different ways of creating an identity online. On the one hand, you have the personal myth. Avatars like Evernoam built from deeply personal experiences, from family, from life. And on the other hand, you have the branded identity, avatars like Fendi that take on the meaning of a huge global brand.
And so this whole journey leaves us with a really big question to think about, not just for gaming, but for our entire digital lives. As we spend more and more of our time online, what kind of identities are we going to build? Are they going to be crafted from our own personal myths, our unique stories? Or are they going to be something we just buy off the shelf?